So I've realized that if I'm going to share my faith more, I need to share how God got me to this point. Um, I want to share my testimony so that maybe there's one girl out there who relates to my story and finds God in the middle of her struggles. I did write all of this down because if I don't have a script, I'm going to go off and I'm going to ramble, I'm going to forget things. And I want to make sure that every point is in there. If you're bored of this video already, that's fine. You're not the one that needs to hear this. I want to say up front that this is my first time I've publicly shared my story, as well as shared certain details and events that my family will most likely hear and see. My parents and siblings will most likely see this. They all follow me. So, to mom and dad, I blame you for nothing. You did so well with the tools that you had. I'm sorry for hiding so much from you. Please forgive me, and I love you. To my siblings, but especially my sister, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Even in my darkest moments, I knew I couldn't leave you alone in this life. I thank God for you every day, and I love you. My story starts a lot, like a lot of others. I grew up in a Christian household. I went to church and attended a private Christian school. But despite being surrounded by God, I always felt isolated. From a very young age, I believed the lie that something was wrong with me, that people didn't like me, that I had to perform for friends, classmates, teachers, everybody, including my family. I felt I always had to earn love and friendships. When I was 15, I briefly had a dating romantic relationship. It started out fine, but very quickly I was emotionally manipulated and abused. I was blamed for anything that went wrong in this guy's life. Bad grades, being late, the phone bill being way too expensive, everything. And eventually, our breakup. He actually blamed me and said that God told him and his parents told him that he needed to break up with me. He said that his parents didn't like me. Because of that, um, because of the fact that he essentially manipulated everybody else around me and said that it was me who broke up with him, he pulled all my friends away from me. And I felt incredibly isolated. I was isolated. I had nobody. Nobody was on my side. And all my friends pushed me away. And I started to believe the lie that everything was my fault. I began this terrible cycle of guilt. I would beat myself up emotionally for anything that went wrong. Things not being turned in, grades slipping. I said something wrong in class. I said something wrong with my parents. And because of that, I felt that I needed to be punished through self harm, through cutting. I would silently scream at God at night to take the razor away from my hand, and when he didn't, I would rip my arm apart with it. All this feet from my parents' door. I was next door, the next room from my parents. They were sleeping peacefully, and I would scream in my room in silence. I was actually blamed for my own friend's attempted suicide. She overdosed on Tylenol and she was in the hospital, and the only person that came up and told me about this was that romantic relationship I had, that my ex, so to speak. And he told me that it's your fault that she overdosed. It's your fault. She could have died because you left her. I left her. And I believed it. I wanted to die. On top of that, after this failed relationship, because I felt like maybe I had done something wrong and it was me personally, I began to question my sexuality. I wasn't necessarily the most feminine person to begin with. I was a late bloomer. And being online all the time, I started dressing more masculine. I started going by whatever pronouns I felt like. And I thought maybe I was attracted to male and female, everybody. I started to confuse my deep platonic love for the friends that I did have for romantic interest. I was conflicted and confused and bought the lie online that I could be whoever I wanted and love whoever I wanted. By the tail end of my senior year of high school, I had had enough. I was in a terrible, dark place, and I told God, I'm done. I'm giving it up. I don't have a future. I gave up any chance of any kind of relationship with a guy or a girl. I gave up my faith. I said, I'm done. I'm walking away. And I gave up my future. I didn't know what my next 5 years would look like. I knew I was going to a college, but I didn't know what I was going to do after that. Miraculously, that next weekend, I met my now husband. I didn't know that at the time, obviously. He was performing at my siblings' school as a main character. He was the main character in Newsies, and I immediately fell head over heels for him, and I was terrified. And that next day, Easter morning, I accepted the altar call and was baptized in front of the entire church after saying that I wasn't going to do it and that wasn't for me. And that moment, I recommitted my life to Christ back in 2019. Post COVID, I still had a lot of ups and downs in my faith. I had a lot of really difficult jobs, a lot of really difficult coworkers and bosses that really challenged my faith and my spirit. But through my church, I was also able to find a very life giving small group and incredibly supportive and wonderful people who were mentors in my faith. In 2022, my husband and I got engaged, and then he moved to another state where I currently am. Things were actually going really well for most of the year. And then towards the end of the year, we were thrown another curveball. Before we were married, I visited my husband, my fiance at the time, on a couple occasions by myself. Once for his birthday in October, and then another time in December. Unfortunately, we did not follow God's will for our relationship in the purity sense, and we gave into physical desires when we should have been able to wait a couple of months. All we had to do was wait a couple of months, and we didn't. In October, we felt guilty. We were scared. Didn't keep track of my cycle that well, and we panicked. And when it came normally, when my menstruation cycle came normally, we thought, well, we're fine. We're good. No problem. So in December, we thought, oh, well, it's the same thing. We'll be fine. December, I came out for Christmas, and we continued to give into our physical desires, and we thought everything was fine. I still had, albeit a very short cycle, weirdly enough, over Christmas. I thought everything was normal. I had a irregular cycle anyway. It was fine. Unfortunately, about a week later, while we were, funny enough, at watching a movie at the theater with my husband's family, with his cousins, I had gone to the bathroom, and I saw that I was bleeding bright red blood. And I knew immediately that I had lost someone. I was hit with this incredible grief that I can't understand. And now, having lost family members and seeing, personally lost things, I understand now that is the grief of losing someone close to you. But I had never known this person, and I never will. After the movie was over, my husband walked me to my car. Of course, then fiance, my husband now, he walked me to my car, and I told him. And he took it far harder than I did. And for 2 years, he only blamed himself, and he was full of guilt. He was so scared to even touch me sometimes. And even after we were married, to have that intimacy, because he was so scared that it would happen again. And the worst part about it was not the pain of losing a child that I didn't know. not the physical pain, it was the emotional and the spiritual pain. I felt like I couldn't tell my parents, I felt like I couldn't tell my in laws, because if I did, I would be yelled at, I would be disowned. Both of us felt like, God, they're gonna kill us. So we hid from my family, from his. I fortunately felt enough, I felt the Spirit leading me when I went back to my life group with these mentors, that I had the faith that I did tell them, and they came around me, and instead of hating me, these were all older people, these were all people in their 50s. Instead of hating me and kicking me out of the group, they showed love to me. They showed truth to me. They showed forgiveness, despite what I had done, despite what we had done. They forgave me, and God forgave me. And now, fortunately, almost 3 years later, I'm happily married. We know we're forgiven, and we've worked through that grief, and we're very blessed to have a happy and healthy daughter now. Despite how isolated and hidden I felt for so long, God found me in every spot. I think of Psalm 119, which I memorized when I was very young. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. I was never truly alone as much as I thought, and neither are you if you stuck around this long, spiritually or physically. The enemy tried to tell me that no one would understand, but so many people in my life showed me the love and truth of God. Because of God's perfect will, I am still here. I am still alive, and I am a wife and a mother, something that I thought I would never be. I didn't think I'd make it this far, and yet every day I get to wake up and breathe in the blessings of God. And I hope my story gives you encouragement. Whoever sees this, I don't expect many people to, but if you did, know that I love you, and know that God loves you. And despite how dark your life may feel right now, know that there are blessings on the other side. You just have to trust God. You have to trust in His good, pleasing, and perfect will that works all things for the good of those who love Him. Just like He did with me. I'm not supposed to be here, or so I thought. And here I am.